Hey guys, it's good to see you, class. Well, obviously I can't see you, but it is good to uh, be doing some English. I want to start today by picking up where Lori finished. Um, as you can see, we have Google here. That's not what we're going to be using. So let's see. I want to pull up this. So what I want to do to begin with is just review um, if clauses and the present unreal conditional that Lori was working with you on the other day. And just if you can see on the screen there and what I've typed, if clauses are conditional, meaning if something happens, then something will happen after it. So there's a cause, and then there's an effect. Something must happen first, though, and then something will follow and happen after. And you learned that conditional clauses can be real or unreal. So if it's a real conditional clause, it just means that it's something that is possible. And if it's unreal, then it is not possible. Or we would even say imaginary. Like it's just, we know it would not happen, but we still sometimes need ways to talk about those things. So this is a way to do that. And then the form that we use is if. And in the if clause, we use the simple past, as you can see here on this document that I've typed up. And then following that, in the next clause, you're going to use would or could, depending on the situation. Would is stronger, right? Could, not as strong. And then the base form of the verb. So what I want to do here is, if I can make this work, I'm going to minimize this for a minute. There's Google again. Moving myself down. I want to look at this page. You can see here. This is actually page 105 in your workbook. And I would like us just to take a few minutes just to review these present unreal conditional clauses that you did with Lori with these 5 exercises. First one is done for you, of course, and they want you to write a sentence. So for 2 through 5, you need to write a sentence, but look at number 1. We're talking about, again, I said cause and effect, which we're actually going to talk about that in our new lesson for today. But here they're using action and result. So you're going to write a sentence about an action and then a result and use the present unreal conditional. So here on number 1, you see the action, it gives you the noun I and then carpool to work. And we know what carpool means, right? Where you share a ride with someone. Maybe you all live at the same apartment and you all work at the same place. There's no reason to take 3 different cars if there's 3 people that work at the same place. You each take a turn driving each other to work, carpool. And then the result, I save a lot of money every week. So if we write that in the present unreal conditional form, we have, if I carpool to work, I would save a lot of money every week. Again, right? We start off with the if statement in the simple past. If I carpooled, ed, and then in that next clause, we use the would or the could. I would save, and then the base form of the verb, save. I would save, right here, a lot of money every week. Okay? I know that was very fast, but what I would like you to do is to take a minute. If you have the workbook, you can just open it up to page 105, and you can do 2 through 5 on your own. If you don't, what I want everyone to do is to pause the video right here And if you don't have a workbook, you can just write the sentence down on a piece of paper just by looking at the screen. Okay. In fact, everyone could do that. If you don't feel like getting out your workbook, just take out a piece of paper and write a sentence for each one using that if clause at the beginning with the simple past. And then in that next, and that would be with the action part. And then with the result, use the would or could plus the base form of the verb. Okay? So everyone pause for just a minute. Do that. I'm not going to pause. I'm going to keep going. But right now, go ahead and pause. I'll wait a minute and be quiet. And then what I want to do is show you the sentences, the answers. Okay? But pause right here, and then we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so let's move this one out of the way. And here is what your sentences could look like, at least, or should look like. So number one is done for us. Let's move past that one. So here's number two, action. You have people replace old appliances with new appliances. Okay, and you remember what appliances, that was one of our words. It's like your refrigerator, your dishwasher, a microwave, an oven, those things, washing machine. And then the result, they use less electricity. But let's make that a present unreal conditional. So it should read then, and I have here underlined in red the verbs and the form they should be in. So in this if clause, you should have the simple past. If people replaced old appliances with new appliances, comma, they would use less electricity. Okay? Now, could you say they could use less electricity? It's possible. You could. But this is something we're pretty certain about, pretty sure about. So we could probably just use the would. They would use less electricity. Okay? Now in number three, you'll notice I do have an option of would or could. The action is our city have more recycling centers. And then the result, people recycle more cans and bottles. So your sentence would read, if our city had, simple past, more recycling centers, comma, there's our comma, and then people would recycle more cans and bottles. Now, if you want to express that you're sure, you just know they would, then you could say that. But maybe you don't believe people would. So you would just use could. So it would read, if our city had more recycling centers, people could recycle more cans and bottles. So you're saying it's more of a possibility. It would give people an opportunity, a chance to recycle if there were more centers around. Because if there's not a lot of centers, it's harder. It takes more time. And so people don't want to do it. Okay. Number four, action. The landlord fixed the leak in my tub. The result, I not use so much water. Okay. Here's the sentence. If the landlord fixed, simple past, ed, the leak in my tub, comma, I would not use so much water. You're certain, you're sure. I would not use so much water if the landlord would just fix the leak, right? So you would have a lower water bill, things would be better. And then number five, the action, people use both sides of a piece of paper. The result, we not cut down so many trees. Here's your sentence. If people used, simple past, with the if clause, ed, both sides of a piece of paper, comma, we would not cut down so many trees. Okay? Notice we're not saying we could not cut down so many trees. Okay? We would not use the could with that idea of a possibility with not. When we use the negative not, it makes it sound more certain, more sure. So you want to use would, right? So we would not cut down so many trees. If people would just use both sides of the piece of paper, save the paper, save your trees. Okay? Now, I know that was fast, but this was just to get our minds thinking, to review a little bit of what you did with Lori last time. And again, if you have a workbook, there's more space in there if you haven't used it already to do exercises. There are more exercises to do, so I would recommend that you do that. Okay? And if you want to pause right now, this would be a good time and go work on those. But right now, I'm going to move on to, let's see here, if I can find my page. I'm going to move on back to this page. If you can see this, I don't know that you can see me now, but there I am. Here's today's lesson. You can see there typed at the top of that document there. We're talking about connector words. And in particular, we're talking about two words, since, so you can see here, since and so. Since and so. But before we actually talk about those words, just like we would normally do in our normal class, let's get our minds thinking so that we can see how these words work before we define them. Let's try this. So I want to ask you a question. What do you do, especially right now, when you're not in class, but what do you do to learn more English? You can think about it. I've written down two examples of what you could do to learn more English. So one of those could be you write new words down. Anytime you hear a new word or you read a new word, you keep a list and then you look it up and you have an ongoing list of new words that you can practice. Just a minute here. I'll look something up. Let's see. Yeah. So you write new words down. Now, that's a cause. So that's something you do. So you can think of it as like an action. You do something. You write new words down. Now, what will the result be? What is the effect of that? Well, the effect might be, let's see, that you learn new vocabulary. You write new words down, and that causes you to learn new vocabulary, which is a good way to learn new words, by the way. Here's another thing you might do to learn more English, especially right now. You might, here, number 2, the second one, watch English-speaking movies. And what would the result be? The result could be that you become better at conversation. Now, when you're watching a movie, you're listening to people have conversations, and it can be a way of learning how conversation sounds in English. So that can help. Okay. Now let's take the second cause and effect. To learn more English, you watch English-speaking movies. And the effect or the result is you get better at conversation. Let's take that for just a minute, and I'm going to turn that into a sentence using since as a connecting word. Okay, I'm going to say, since I am watching English-speaking movies, comma, I am getting better at conversation. Whoops. Go back there. Conversation. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. But notice what sense means here. Okay? Sense is like a signal, a sign that I'm about to tell you a cause or an action. So, since I am watching English speaking movies, okay, that's a cause. That's something I do that will create an effect or a result. So, what is the result? It comes after the comma here. I am getting better at conversation. Okay? Since I am watching English speaking movies, I am getting better at conversation. All right? So, since is a connecting word. What does that mean? What does it mean that since, especially since is at the beginning of the sentence? So, what is it doing to connect? Well, you have, if you go back to cause and effect, you have two ideas, two sentences. Leave out since. Okay, let's take that out for a minute. Now you have, I am watching English speaking movies. Okay? Then you have another sentence. I am getting better at conversation. What you are trying to say is there is a connection between these two ideas or thoughts. Okay? And you want to show the connection. And so we use words called, and we've talked about these before, conjunctions, right? They stick two sentences together or two ideas together. And you want to show that connection. And so you use a word. So our word here, since, is a connecting word that connects the cause with the effect. Okay? So again, the cause, since I am watching English speaking movies, leads to the result or the effect. I am getting better at conversation. All right? Let's do one more. Let's see. I'm just doing this on the fly, so we'll see how this works. Let's take the first cause and effect. Write new words down and learn new vocabulary. And I want to use so. Okay. Let's see. Hold on just a minute. Let me make sure I don't lead you astray here. Okay, so let's do this. To show you how so is used. I write new English words down in my notebook. I'm just adding some words so it makes a little more sense. So I can learn new vocabulary. Okay. So here we go again. We have a connecting word or a connector, so. Now, so indicates an effect or a result. So I write new English words down in my notebook. Why? So I can learn new vocabulary. Again, take out so. If you take out so, you just have two sentences, two ideas. Okay? They are connected, but if you are writing something and someone is reading your writing, they won't know they're connected unless you provide or add the connecting word. Okay? So if you don't add the connecting word, this is how it sounds. I write new English words down in my notebook. I can learn new vocabulary. Now, that's not what you're trying to say. What you are trying to say is that there is a connection between those two sentences. So you add a word. You add so. Very easy, right? But again, so sounds similar to since, and even sounds like it may mean something similar to since. but it doesn't. It means it's so as a signal or a sign that this part of the sentence here, this part of the sentence is an effect. I write new English words down in my notebook. That's an action. It's a cause. What is the result? What is the effect? The effect is in blue, I can learn new vocabulary. I do it for that reason. That is my reason. Okay. So that that is the, not to be confusing, to start using the word reason, but that is the effect. If I write my words down, notice how this sounds like the conditional, then new vocabulary will be learned. Okay. So what I want you to do right now, actually, let's see. Oh, yes. And let me do one other thing. Let me scroll up here. I don't want to forget this little note. See this note here? Right here? Because we often use in the place of since, and many times we will use therefore in the place of so. So let's take those previous two sentences. Okay, hopefully you can still see me here. And let's take out since and replace it with because. Reason to retype it. And now it says, replacing it with because I am watching English speaking movies, I am getting better at conversation. Different word, same meaning. So we can replace since with because. Okay? Because I am watching English speaking movies, it means the same thing here as since. I am getting better at conversation. Also, we can replace so with therefore. Now, often when we're talking, we speak faster than we would write, and so we would probably just say so a lot to signal that we're talking about an effect. But you can use therefore. Therefore can just sound a little more formal, but you can say, like I have here, I write new English words down in my notebook. Therefore, I can learn new vocabulary. You can do that. It still has the idea of an effect, but more often we would say so. Okay? So I can learn new vocabulary. But just so you know that, because what I want to do now, actually, I'm going to move this down. There is this page also in your workbook. It is page 106. What I would like you to do here is to do these exercises. Again, what you might want to do is just on a piece of paper, write out your answer. Even if you have the workbook, you can go get the workbook off your shelf if you want. But you can just write down the answer. And then in a few minutes, we'll pause, and then you can come back and listen to the answers, okay? But here are some exercises. Part 1, it just says circle the correct answers. So look at number 1. You're just trying to circle the sentence that uses since or so correctly, or uses therefore correctly, or because correctly. Okay, so it will have you work on those words too. So number 1A says there are more people in the city because people are building more houses. Now think about that. It's creating. It's using the word because. You can see that here, because. And think about it. Would that be true? There are more people in the city because people are building more houses. Does building more houses mean there are more people in the city? I don't know. Look at B. There are more people in the city. Therefore, people are building more houses. Okay? That relationship between those two ideas makes more sense. All right? That cause and effect relationship. Okay? Now, I want you to pause right now and try 2 through 5. And in just a minute, we'll come back and then I will show you the answers and we'll talk through anything that might be confusing to you. Okay? So go ahead and pause now and we'll be back in a minute. Okay. Here we go. Here are those exercises we just did. Look at number 2. And I've underlined in red the key word that we're learning, the connecting word here, or connector sense. So 2A is the correct answer. Listen to the sentence. Since the weather is getting warmer, we use more electricity for air conditioning. Now remember what sense means. Sense signals a cause, right? And since means the same thing as because. So maybe if you need to, use because. Because the weather is getting warmer, we use more electricity for air conditioning. Is that a true statement? Yes, especially in Texas, right? Look at B, just so we can see the difference. B says we use more electricity for air conditioning, so the weather is getting warmer. No, that's not true. That's not the right relationship. You understand? It's not true that we use more electricity for air conditioning and that makes the weather warmer. That's not how it works. The weather gets warmer, then we use more electricity, right? Cause and effect. So A for number 2 is right. Number 3 also is A. It says, because some places have less rainfall, farmers grow less food. Now, does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. If you get less rain, the crops, the plants are not going to grow well, right? Again, look at B so we can see the wrong answer. Farmers grow less food. Therefore, some places have less rainfall. Does that make sense? Now remember what therefore is a signal of. Therefore signals an effect, right? So would it be true that the cause would be farmers grow less food, and so the effect is some places have less rainfall? No, that's not how it works. There's less rainfall, and the effect is less food, right? So you just have to think about the right relationship between those two. Number 4 is B, which is since people are driving bigger cars, they use a lot more gasoline. Okay? Yes, bigger cars use more petrol, use more benzene. So since people are driving bigger cars, since is your signal that this part of the sentence is the cause, then the effect is they are using more gasoline. Yeah, that's right. And then 5 is also A. There are more hurricanes now, so living near the ocean is more dangerous, right? Would it be true to say, as it does in letter B, there are more hurricanes now because living near the ocean is more dangerous? No, that doesn't make sense. The cause is there are more hurricanes now. What is the effect? What is the result? The result is living near the ocean is dangerous because of those hurricanes. Okay? So I know that's a little fast. So I want to give you a chance to do part 2. Okay? In part 2, let's see here. Nope. Nope. Let's do that again. Nope. Sorry, guys. I'm getting used to this. Okay. Part 2 is here. Just a little more practice with this. Okay. This time you have to complete the sentence with the sentences or the clauses that are here in this box right here, okay? These things that I'm highlighting here. You can use those in the blanks down here. So number 1 is done for you. Pollution is increasing in the cities. So, remember, so is a signal for a result or an effect. More people want to live outside of cities, okay? So the result is, the effect is, more people want to live outside of cities. So this one here, this clause is already used, so you're not going to use that one, okay? But I want you to, again, pause for just a minute and do 2 through 5 using the rest of these options up here. And then we'll come back in just a minute and go over those answers, okay? Okay, and we're back. So let's look at these. Here's part 2. We already did number 1, so here's number 2. I underlined again, oh gosh, didn't mean to do that. I underlined because I want you to see that word, and I want you to pay attention to what that signals. So because signals a cause, right? Because more people want to live outside of cities, now what's the result? They are building more houses, okay? That means the people who build houses are building more houses outside of the city in what we call the suburbs, right? So they're building more and more houses, and especially here in Dallas, they're building them further and further away from Dallas, where there's more land and more countryside, but there's more houses out there, right? But again, more people want to live outside of cities, okay? That's a cause, right? What's the effect? They are building more houses, therefore, out there, okay? Number 3, houses outside of cities are often far from places where people work. Therefore, what does therefore signal? Therefore signals an effect. You could replace therefore with so, right? So, or therefore, people have to drive farther to work, right? So you maybe want to live in a faraway suburb, but now you have to drive a lot further to get to work, okay? And use more gas. And that's the next one. Number 4, people who live outside of cities drive more. So, again, what does so tell us? That means this part of the sentence is the effect. So what's the effect? They use more gasoline, okay? People who live outside the cities drive more. What's the effect? They use more gasoline. So they use more gasoline, okay? And number 5, because gasoline use has increased, global warming gets worse, okay? Now, don't be fooled, right? They put because at the beginning of the sentence, but because still is signaling an effect. So the first part of the sentence here is still an effect because gasoline use has increased, okay? Global warming gets worse. That's not right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And all you smart people out there were saying, like, what is he talking about? I'm getting, for some reason, because and therefore switched up in my mind all of a sudden. Yeah, so because, remember, is like since. So this is the cause. Because, and it's right there in the word because, right? It's a good lesson. Because gasoline has increased, global warming gets worse. The cause, gasoline use has increased. What's the effect? Global warming gets worse. Okay? Okay. Now, I know this maybe feels fast, but what I would like you to do is, let's see here, move that out of the way. Whoops. Here is, move this up here. This is actually page 115 in your class book. what I would like you to do, if you want to, if you have time, again, I realize many of you have kids at home and you're probably still trying to do school. But if you want to practice this when you have some time, this is part B, okay? You can see there. This is where we normally stop and we practice speaking this new grammar skill. Now, we're not in class, but if there's someone in your house, maybe one of your children, if you have an older child, or maybe your husband or your wife, if they speak good enough English, you can have them practice this with you, okay? It says talk with a partner, combine sentences in different ways using the connectors since, because, therefore, and so, all right? So look at what they did for the example. They took number one from the causes here, and they, because it's a cause, you're going to use because or since at the beginning, right? So they chose since up here. Since people are building homes in forests, all right, what would the effect be? Think about what would the effect be if people start tearing down forests to build homes. And look over here at the effects. The one they chose is animals are losing their natural habitats. So animals are being forced to run, right? Away from their natural homes because people are invading them. People are taking over the forests. Now, is that the only effect over here that you could use? No. You could also use animals are moving into towns and cities. That would be fine. The animals are frightened. Sometimes they attack people. It doesn't matter. It says here in the instructions, combine sentences in different ways. The only thing is you just want to think about cause and effect. What is a cause and what would be an effect of that cause? What's an action and what would be the result of that action? Okay. Look at their second example. It says animals are losing their natural habitats. Okay. Now look at where that is on the chart. It's over here in the effects, but they have it at the beginning of the sentence, right? So you can put the effect, even though cause is before effect or action is before result. You can put the effect at the beginning of the sentence. It doesn't matter really. As long as you have that connecting word and it makes sense. So animals are losing their natural habitats because why? So we go over to the causes and they chose people are building homes in forests. Okay, they use that same cause, okay, and the same effect. But notice they just reversed them, okay? And because they reversed them, because they put the cause at the end, well, never mind. I don't know where I was going with that. But they were using because instead of since, okay, just to practice. So this is all practice, okay? So notice also what it asks you to do down here at the bottom, all right? Do it again. Write sentences about the cause and effects. If there's no one to talk with in your house or that could not do this well with you to help you, just write out some sentences, okay? Again, using causes and effects. And I would also say, even if there is someone to practice this in conversation in your house, go ahead and write out 6 sentences, because you have 6 causes and 6 effects. 6 sentences on a piece of paper, and if you want, you can take a photo of them and text them to me. You will have this. I will text the link of this video out to you, so you can just text me back if you want to write them down on a piece of paper. Send me a photo, and then I will go through them and help you make any corrections that you might need. Okay. But that's all we're going to do for today. Okay. I hope to be able to see you soon. And I hope this is helpful. And God bless you all. And we're praying for you. Okay. Bye bye.